Joining me now is Forbes Media Chairman and Editor-in-Chief, Steve Forbes. Steve, have you decided on a candidate yet?
Not yet. That's why I'm going to be watching this debate tonight. Incredibly timed, focus on the economy, Fox Business doing the thing. I think it's going to be very, very important. A lot of people are going to start really making up their minds. So I feel like I'm in the dating game. I like a lot of things in the various candidates, so I'll be watching tonight like millions of others.
Well, Steve, you've been down this road before, and we talk about Trump versus Cruz, Bush versus Rubio, but then also Kasich, Christie, and Carson on the main stage. Give these candidates advice. How do you punch through? Ben Carson has struggled in these debates to really shine in a way that he does on the campaign trail at events. Kasich, he came out in the last Fox Business debate and looked grumpy, quite frankly, after a while. Christie, he goes after Hillary Clinton, but he's on the stage with these other candidates. Give these guys advice on how to shine.
Well, first of all, what's amazing is that many of these candidates are like a circular firing squad, shooting at each other, trying to be the un-Trump to Donald Trump. And what they've got to do tonight is focus on the economic issues. People are very concerned. Some of them have very interesting tax plans out there. You mentioned Dr. Ben Carson. He's got a fantastic flat tax plan out there. They've got to push these positive things in a Reagan-esque way. Also, I want to see if Ted Cruz, instead of going after New Yorkers, goes after the Federal Reserve that he's done in the past. And that's an institution that needs to be hit hard. Their regulatory environment is hurting lending to small and new businesses who are the job creators. So I want to see also what they're going to say about health care in terms of replacing health care. I've got a book out called Reviving America, Big Three Reforms. Got to get rid of Obamacare, but what are you going to replace it with? I think people are interested in that.
Hey, Steve, this is Steve Moore here. You were 20 years ahead of your time. I mean, you look at this field right now, and they've all got some version of the Steve Forbes flat tax. It's unbelievable. You mentioned Ben Carson, and then you got Ted Cruz and Rand Paul, and congratulations on that. Is there a favorite
you've
among
been
those
pushing
plans?
this too, Steve.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's fantastic to see. I just wonder which of these tax plans, I'm not asking you to endorse a candidate, but maybe a tax plan, which one do you think is the best for America?
Right now, I'm very impressed with what Carson's put on the table.
Okay.
I think in terms of how he deals with business taxes and the like. But the others have plenty of opportunity to tweak. And I'm glad that you've got several candidates promoting variations of the flat tax. And I also hope they go in terms of having the Federal Reserve stop mucking around with the integrity of the U.S. dollar. And again, on health care, I hope one of them proposes, for example, that hospitals, clinics, health care providers have to post prices so that people can see what they're going to be charged when they go in for these treatments. People are having to have more co-pays, more deductibles and the like. We need more transparency. So I hope we get some substance tonight, not just shooting each other, but put forward positive things. As you remember, Steve, back in 1980, Reagan came across with that 30% across-the-board income tax proposal, advocated in a way that no one else did. That's how he got elected, with positive substance.
I just think that Republicans need to translate these policy ideas, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the show, in terms of how it's going to affect the average voter, Steve. And you did a great job of that. I think sometimes Republicans don't connect the dots that well on how growth is going to mean higher incomes, more income, and job security.
And Americans are very worried about corruption, not in the old sense, but crony capitalism kind of corruption, cronyism kind of corruption. The flat tax takes that away so you can focus on real things instead of this almost semi-criminal organization called the IRS. And in terms of health care, you being in charge of health care, patient control instead of bureaucrats and insurers and the like, people want to hear. And you're right. This is very, very exciting for Americans, being able to get higher incomes again, a vibrant economy again. And they want to look at candidates and see who's putting the real stuff on the table.
Morgan.
Steve, I don't know about you, but something that I would particularly like to hear in the South Carolina debate, because it affected this state so much, is about where the candidates stand on Exim Bank. Exim was a huge issue here because you have Boeing, you have BMW, you have Michelin, and whenever the Exim Bank was not reauthorized, they lost 500 jobs in Greenville, South Carolina. So I don't know about you, but I think Ted Cruz came out incredibly strong against Exim Bank, and others, Rubio voted against it. Some of the other candidates have been quiet. I'd like to hear what the candidates have to say about it, why they're in South Carolina.
Well, in terms of the Exim Bank, which was brought in 80 years ago to subsidize loans to the Soviet Union, but in terms of if you have a functioning credit system, you don't need those kind of special government favors and the like. So again, you have a vibrant working credit market, it'll take care of itself. But all of these special favors just breeds corruption, believe me. As Donald Trump would say,
Steve
believe
Forbes.
me.
So Steve Forbes, the final exchange I want to be, Anthony Scaramucci at the end of the last hour said that a Republican will not win in November. The markets are saying the market is predicting that.
The market is signaling that we're in for a rough slide. If a Republican doesn't win, the market's going to continue to trade lower, and it feels that way right now.
So what do you say to that? The market's saying that a Republican's not winning in November right now.
I think the markets will get a better feel for that when this primary process is over and get a better feel for who the candidates are. There's real turmoil on the Democratic side. I think you're going to see some amazing things happening there. So I don't take it too seriously now. And as a matter of fact, if it looks like you're going to get a Reagan-esque Republican platform, you could see the markets go up in anticipation of a better future, even though right now 2016 is going to be a pretty rocky and rough year, especially as earnings are coming under pressure and the Federal Reserve continues to prove it doesn't know what it's doing.
And Steve Forbes, we're going to leave it there, but I'll point out something about Hillary Clinton's poll numbers. They are in a, quote, free fall. I was listening to Ed Henry last night that she was in a stronger position against now President Obama back in 2008 than she is right now in polling against Bernie Sanders in Iowa and New Hampshire. So that is a pretty incredible thing. Steve, thank you so much. It was great to see you.
Thank you,
Steve
Thank
Forbes.
you, everybody.
I wish you were going to be on that stage tonight.
Yeah, we wish that. I think Steve's happy right where he is at this point.